Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So I haven't really made a video about this team all year, but I've been really, I guess you could say, aware of the situation. But it's time that I kind of voiced my opinion on it because the Phoenix Suns are really underperforming for what they got. They're currently 15-15 in the West. That's good for the 10th seed, which this is a team that, with the amount of talent that it has, should not be 10th in the West, okay? Obviously, I've refrained from making comments on this team or even talking about them because they've had a lot of injuries. And when I mean a lot of injuries, I mean a lot of injuries. Like, they have very few guys on their team that I think have played every single fucking game. Bradley Beal specifically being out, for such a prolonged period of time is one of the main reasons I haven't talked about it, because they've literally only played one game together where all three of them have been on the floor at the same time. But Bradley Beal has only played 6 games for the Phoenix Suns this year. And when you watch this team play, it's like they are very, 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 I don't know how to put it, almost like flavorless or plain. They're not great at anything, but they're not horrendous at anything either. And when you watch this team play, Devin Booker's done a very good job at playing point guard. But the problem is there are times where you watch him play and you're like, yeah, he's not a point guard. Like, don't get me wrong, he's had some ballin' ass games playing point guard, but he's not like a floor general. You know what I'm saying? He's not a playmaker. He's an above average playmaker for his position. So is Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, but they really need like a true floor general, like a true point guard, which is why I understand why they were interested in a guy like TJ McConnell. One thing I feel like they desperately need to do at the trade deadline or within the next month here or so is they need to find themselves a point guard that is capable of running their offense, because I feel like having Devin Booker run it's not working out the way that we thought. And honestly, back in November, like on November 26th, they were balling. I think the team was like 11-6. Since then, they are, I think, 3-8 in their last 11 games. They're a team that is they're playing 5-9 against teams that are 500 or better. So there's teams that they should be beating that they're simply not. I watch this team play. It's like against the Sacramento Kings, they let Domantas Sabonis get a triple-double. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a 28-point triple-double from Domantas Sabonis. So there's aspects of this team that it's like you watch them play, and there's something there. Don't get me wrong. It's like there's something there, but it's not consistent enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, Eric Gordon just, there was a tweet out there saying that he wants more touches, or he hasn't been touching the ball lately. The problem with Eric Gordon is if that three-point shot is not going, he's a fucking liability to your offense. He doesn't play defense. If he's not shooting threes or he's not making threes, you might as well not have him on your team at all. Josh Okogie is a guy that is pretty much all defense and no offense. You look at a guy like Keita Bates-Diop, if I said that correctly, was a great player for the Spurs last year. This year, he's shooting like shit from the three-point line, and he's an okay defender, but, they have a lot of guys on their team that it's like, if they have it going on one side of the floor, but not on the other side. Even Grayson Allen has missed time this year, and they really haven't had time to really put something together that is like, extravagant, or, they haven't really had time to form any team chemistry. But at some point, man, you kind of got to like ring the alarm on this team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've held back from commenting on this team for a long time because I'm like, okay, they don't have Bradley Beal. And for all I know, it could change. You know what I'm saying? Bradley Beal could come back and they could be fucking amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's a possibility, but I voiced my concerns about this team when they brought in Bradley Beal. I was like, okay, like, you gave up a lot to get Bradley Beal, and now that you have him, he's fucking injured. You know what I'm saying? And one of the biggest issues with this is there is such a thing as having too much talent. A lot of teams don't really fully understand this throughout NBA history. But most times, teams with a lot of talent like that don't win. Mostly, especially when you got three guys that need the ball in their hands to be successful. The Warriors are like the one special case where it's like you had three stars. Really, it was like a 1A and a 1B, and then Klay Thompson and Draymond were like B and C. But it's just the idea, like the Warriors were able to make it work because Stephen Curry's a willing passer. Kevin Durant is even a willing passer. Klay Thompson's pretty much a catch and shoot guy on most nights, and Draymond Green is pretty much a defender who does a little bit of everything except be an amazing shooter. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, the Golden State Warriors were able to make that work. But if we look throughout history, like there's very few teams with like three superstars like that really make it work. You know, the Boston Celtics were a team that it's like they had three damn near superstar level players on their team when they won in 08, but they had good role players around it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't just bring in Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen and say, okay, you know, go win us a fucking ring. They had good guys around them. They had Big Baby Davis. You know, they had Rajon Rondo. You know, they had a lot of guys on that team that were like solid guys. And yeah, maybe they weren't great, but they had guys on that team that were decent. I think Eddie House was on that team. I think they had Leon Poe or whatever, who was a decent forward. Like, they had guys that were just solid. You know what I'm saying? Guys that were like just capable of playing, you know, maybe 10 to 15 minutes a night and, you know, make it so where they bend but don't break. And unfortunately, the Phoenix Suns are in that position where it's like, you know, if Kevin Durant and Devin Booker aren't playing all the fucking time, like, the chances are they're going to lose the game, you know? And, you know, Grayson Allen, I would say, has been pretty good for them. Nasir Little's a guy that I was really high on, and, you know, I haven't really looked at Nasir Little's stats, but he's a guy that like I was really high on. And if I look at his stats, I mean 32% from three, you know what I'm saying? Like he's an okay defender, but even the defense hasn't been great this year. Drew Eubanks is another guy that they got in the offseason or in the trade, and with Joseph Nurkic and stuff. And honestly, you know, Drew Eubanks hasn't been very good. So, yeah, they have Chimezie Metu, who's a guy that is not playing very great. I mean, Chimezie Metu is a guy that I think should maybe get more minutes than 12 minutes a game, but that's just my opinion. Like, I don't know how Yuta Watanabe is getting more minutes than Chimezie Metu, because I think Chimezie Metu is a better player. But even, you know, this Watanabe guy that they put on their team, he's shooting 34% from the field and, 33% from three? Like, how is he getting more minutes than a guy like Chimezie Metu or even Nasir Little? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been kind of wondering, like, how this team is being coached and played. But, you know, this team has got a lot of issues. You know, even Jordan Goodwin is shooting 29% from three. Oh, 30% if you want to round up, because it's 29.9. But... and he's shooting 36% from the field. Like, this is a team that, you know, outside of their top six guys, the bench really isn't playing that great. You know, Nasir Little is okay. Chimezie Metu's been okay, but they're not three-point killers by any mean. They really have a mismatch of bench players that really don't help them. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, okay, Nasir Little and Chimezie Metu are shooting great from the field, but from the three-point line, they're shooting 32%. Then, you know, Keita Bates-Diop is shooting 25% from three and not even 40% from the field. Josh Okogie is shooting 39% from the field and 25% from three. So this team, like, they really need some bench depth, and they're simply not getting it. Joseph Nurkic is shooting 27% from three, which is, you know, and 46% from the field, which really isn't great. You know, obviously the DeAndre Ayton trade was something that Phoenix wanted to do, obviously because, you know, DeAndre Ayton was not happy, but I find it hard to believe that DeAndre Ayton would be playing worse than Joseph Nurkic in this similar situation. I would almost argue that trading DeAndre Ayton was probably a bad move for this team. Simply because, like, I get why they wanted to get rid of him because of the contract and all this other stuff. But I definitely think DeAndre Ayton could do better than 46% from the field and, you know, 27% from three. I definitely think he's better than that. Eric Gordon is playing well, 40% from three, 46% from the field on 13 a game. But like I said, On the nights that he doesn't have it going from 3, the dude's a liability. So, like, really outside of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, this team has a lot of holes that they need to fill. The biggest hole that I think they need to fill, though, is getting themselves a playmaking point guard, and preferably a guy at that spot that can shoot a 3. You know, it sucks to say this, but, like, Kobe White finally looks like a good player for the Chicago Bulls. So, like, it'd be cool if they could get him, but one guy that I feel like they should really try to find some way to trade for is Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso from the Chicago Bulls is a damn good defender. He's shooting the 3 lights out this year. And I feel like he could maybe provide some playmaking that this team really needs. But you know, that's kind of a crapshoot at this point, because I don't think Phoenix really has anything that Chicago would be interested in. But yeah, the Phoenix Suns are a mess. They're not, and the crazy part is too, like, this team is very middle of the pack. I think they're 18th out of 30 teams in defense and 14th out of 30 teams in offense. So they're not top 10 in any category, and they're barely top 15 in offense. You know what I'm saying? They're 14th out of 30, and in defense, they're not even in the top 15. They're 18th out of 30. So I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Phoenix, but this is a team with, you know, a lot of talent that really isn't doing much. And, you know, I'm excited to see what happens when Bradley Beal really gets, you know, involved in things and gets into the mix. Maybe this team will get better, but for right now, they don't look good. And, you know, the idea that also that Bradley Beal has missed so much time, it's going to be, you know, an adjustment period as well. You know, you're going to get Bradley Beal back, and now, you know, they're going to spend probably the next 10, 15 games trying to figure out how to play with Bradley Beal and how to incorporate him in things and stuff like that. So I don't know how good this team's going to be. I don't think they're going to make a big run in the playoffs. I know that's something a lot of people were expecting at the beginning of the year. You know, I was even high on just because of the amount of talent they had. But whenever you have this much talent, there's always a concern that, you know, you have too much talent. And I think, I can't say Phoenix is in that position yet. But it's just the idea that, you know, things just simply don't look good from a role player perspective. And if you don't have good role players, you usually don't do well in the playoffs, especially when it's like you got certain guys that are only good at one thing, or certain guys that it's like they're good at both things but are not performing up to their abilities. So anyway, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.